Dear viewers, today's conversation is dedicated to International Anti-Corruption Day. Corruption is not only a legal violation, it is one of the most serious threats to public trust, justice and sustainable development. Today we have the privilege to welcome Dr. Oliver Stolpe. Your Excellency, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to discussing the roots of corruption in the region and the pathways towards stronger anti-corruption efforts. First of all, can you tell us about the significance of the International Anti-Corruption Day and why is it so important to mark this day?
Now, I think from a perspective of Uzbekistan, and first of all, of course, thank you very much for having me. From a perspective of Uzbekistan, the importance is kind of self-evident when I tell you the theme, which is uniting with youth against corruption, shaping tomorrow's integrity. With Uzbekistan of course, having such a youthful population, it is self-evident that this is an issue that affects us today, but that also affects us today in terms of our struggle for the future of Uzbekistan. So in that sense, I think the significance is very, very high for Uzbekistan.
How would you describe the current efforts of Uzbekistan in countering corruption?
I would say they're admirably ambitious. We have seen, I think, a flurry of activities, in particular over the course of 2025, multiple very important decrees that were adopted by Mr. President, and quite some significant progress that has been made. What I've been, I think, personally most impressed by, and I think which is also really the right way to go, is that there's been a bit of a shift towards much more focus on prevention of corruption. There has been a shift towards paying greater attention to sort of like the everyday corruption, the small-scale corruption, which is really the corruption that affects the people at large and that very much shapes the relationship between citizens and their state. So we need to address that in order to have citizens experience the state as a protector, as a provider, and not as a predator.
What are the key anti-corruption initiatives that UNODC is currently supporting in Uzbekistan?
Now we're working on quite a number of issues with the current government, and in particular with the Anti-Corruption Agency, but also with the General Prosecutor's Office and with the Business Ombudsman. So with the General Prosecutor's Office, we're trying really to focus on building a stronger system that allows Uzbekistan to recover stolen assets. This is, for obvious reasons, very important. We need to make sure that crime doesn't pay, and in particular that corruption doesn't pay. The present legislative framework of Uzbekistan in this field has still some improvements that could be introduced, and we're working with the General Prosecutor's Office on implementing those improvements. Then on the work with the Anti-Corruption Agency, Uzbekistan just had actually the country visit under the UN Convention Against Corruption, where two other countries came to Uzbekistan to review its compliance with the provisions of the UN Convention Against Corruption. So we work with the Anti-Corruption Agency in that context, in that review. And with the Business Integrity Ombudsman, we've been working around business integrity, essentially gaining the private sector really as a partner in the fight against corruption. And I think we've been making some good progress, and we need very closely, of course, listen to the private sector, because they are the people that experience the occurrences of corruption. They see the vulnerabilities in the system, and they can really be a very strong partner to government in addressing those.
What additional steps could strengthen institutional transparency and accountability?
Well, there are a couple of areas where I think still some progress would be warranted. I mentioned already the issue of asset recovery. Other matters relate, for example, to the issue of conflict of interest. We have a very robust legislation that was passed just a few months ago. But I think we now need the regulatory framework and we need the implementation processes in order to make this happen. And it starts basically with making actually sure that public officials truly understand what conflict of interest actually means. So we're working over the coming year also with the relevant authorities to actually develop respective training programs for public officers e-learning tools so that it is also cost effective in terms of the delivery, and we are able to hopefully reach the tens of thousands of public officials that are working for Uzbekistan at present moment.
Measuring success in anti-corruption efforts is notoriously difficult. Which indicators do you personally rely on to assess real progress?
Well, when it comes to measuring corruption and measuring success in the fight against corruption, I would always advise keep it simple. Meaning, in this case, and I think Mr. President has helped us quite a bit in that regard because he has clearly established what is the priority. If we want to prioritize the reduction of small-scale corruption, of everyday corruption, then that should be the indicator we're working at. We should not be counting how many workshops we have done, how many laws we have changed, or how many new regulations we have introduced. These are all important, but they're not measures of success. The measures of success is actually reduced corruption. So important is that we are establishing a baseline and then we continuously measure that baseline. I think Mr. President had that already in mind when he actually said that he would also encourage regional research on corruption, and I think that is something that I hope we can also partner in the future with Uzbekistan.
How can anti-corruption education be strengthened in schools and universities?
Well, we have a really fantastic resource for that. It's called the Global Resource on Anti-Corruption Education. It's a large UNODC program that has been developed involving hundreds of academic institutions, the most glorious names that you can imagine. Harvard was involved, Oxford University, and many, many more. And they have basically helped us to develop this very extensive set of tools, teacher guides, full-fledged university courses, e-learning tools, multimedia resources that are all available through our website. And I know that the Anti-Corruption Agency over the past year has actually been looking at these materials, has been identifying those that are relevant to Uzbekistan, and has been translating some of them and trying to introduce them into the school system. Now, of course, we need, I think, still a little bit more of cooperation here with the education system at large, because the rolling out requires a lot of capacity and a lot of effort. But I think we're on a good way in that regard.
From your personal perspective, is humanity moving closer to a corruption-resilient society, or is corruption becoming increasingly sophisticated? Are you an optimist or a realist here?
I'm an optimistic realist. I think we are making quite some progress. The mere fact that there's 191 countries that have signed up to the UN Convention Against Corruption, so pretty much universal application, is a sign that countries are taking this very seriously. At the same time, we need also to recognize that this should not just be about adopting conventions, introducing laws, as I said before. The proof really lies in whether we are making a change, a positive change for the benefit of our citizens. And I think we are on the right track, but we still need to prove that we are actually making real progress. And I think I have the feeling we do, but I think we need better data to actually demonstrate that and to be able to communicate it effectively to the citizens we serve.
Dr. Stolpe, last but not least, it's my personal interest about corruption. What do you think? Why we are doing so much effort against corruption, but when exactly, in your terms, we can just quit all these things?
The fight against corruption will never be over. It's a continuous evolution. Greed is in human nature, unfortunately. So we will have to continuously improve the systems we're putting in place in order to make sure that we are keeping the space for that greed to exercise itself in unhealthy ways as small as possible. So I don't think it's an issue of when will this be over. It's an issue basically of how we ensure that our systems continuously promote integrity in the public service, and we're living up to the expectations that citizens rightly have in ourselves.
Can you add some extra opinions about, is it about the government or initiatives or about people?
Well, it's about both. It's a whole of society approach. Just as we're working with the government in order to reduce vulnerabilities, we're also working with citizens, for example, through the educational system in order to enhance integrity. Both sides are needed.
Mr. Stolpe, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us today. Your reflections reaffirm that combating corruption is not only a matter of law, but also a matter of mindset, culture, and shared responsibility. Dear viewers, integrity remains the strongest foundation of any society. Our future depends on protecting and strengthening this value. Thank you for watching.